Let me first thank CA Dipti Jain, GyaanStation Choice, CA Pratik Kaneria, Advocate Jaideep ji, and all the associations for organizing such beautiful session and for inviting me as one of the speakers. So thanks to each and every one. Let me also thank respected Regional Council member CA Shweta Jain for joining the session today. And Abhay bhai, thank you once again for the lovely introduction. Am I audible clearly, Abhay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, I would request all the participants that you, as and when, whatever comes to your mind, please keep typing into the chat box. And I will either I will read it myself or I'll request Abhay bhai to read. And every few minutes we'll stop so that, like, if there is anything, we can cover those aspects then and there and then move ahead. So let me share my presentation then. Uh, can you see the slides?
Yes, sir.
Okay, excellent. So we are saying understanding internal, evaluating opportunities and growing practice. So what I am thinking is, we'll look at a unique way whereby we'll also look at all the auditing, the standard on internal audit also one by one. And as we look at the standards, we'll cover relevant things so that the concepts also get clear. And we'll also talk about various opportunities that are available. And after every like a few minutes, whatever, 20, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, we'll stop so that if there is any other question, we can cover. So quickly, uh, I'm sure everyone has heard about the Auditing and Assurance Standard Board of ICI. So the Auditing and Assurance Standard Board comes up with the auditing standard, the accounting standard, the guidance, and the technical material from time to time. Similarly, ICI has also formed a Internal Audit Standards Board, IASB, and this board has come up with standards on internal audit, SIAs. It also comes up with various guidance and notes industry wise. Okay. Now, why the need for SIA? Multiple people do internal audit. So to bring about a consistent approach and to monitor the quality while we do our work, these standards were essential. That is what ICI felt. The it says that initially those CA firms who were appointed as internal auditor under section 138 of the Companies Act, for them it will become applicable, and then to the other categories of organization. As we speak today, the standards are still not mandatory, they are recommendatory. And why? Because okay, you must be knowing that many people like other than CS also do internal audit. And when we talk about this session today, we'll talk about two things. One is a CA firm who is doing audit, and also within the organization, there is an in-house internal audit function in many places. Now, sometimes this internal audit function is headed by MBAs or engineers or even graduates, okay? And hence they are not under the direct supervision or control of ICI. So ICI is like still thinking how to ensure that it becomes applicable to everyone who does internal audit, and that is where this will have to be brought about into the Companies Act in some way and form for entities which are not appointed under 138 also. As I move ahead, let us look at the whole framework. So this is the overall framework of internal audit. There is definition of internal audit. At the top, the base is the code of ethics, and there are four pillars. One is basic principles, which you can see on this side: independence, integrity, objectivity. Then there are key concepts, and the key concepts are nature of assurance, etc., which is essentially the SIA in the 100 series. Then there are other standards on internal audit. 19 standards have been issued by ICI, and now 16 more have been issued recently, which were in the public domain for comments. And on time to time, industry-wide guidance note, etc., has also come out. Now, before I go ahead, let me also tell you how does the standards get formed. So the Internal Standards Board has got a group of individuals. They bring all the intellectuals there, They sit and write the standards. Then the standards are presented to the Internal Audit Standards Board. They review it, read it. They take it to the Central Council. The council approves, and then it goes into the public domain for comments. So the 16 new standards which I'm talking about were in the public domain in last month for comments. I don't know how many of us could read and give comments on that. Okay, but now they have gone back, and whatever the comments which have been given, the board will again restudy, and after restudy, it will make the changes, and then after making the changes, those standards will be presented to the council again, and then it will become mandatory, or those will be released as standards. Okay, now if you look at the definition of internal audit, coming to this slide, internal audit, it says, is independent assurance to ensure that the internal control and risk management happens and provides governance, and in order to help organization achieve its objective. Okay, so internal auditor also should, in a way, while reviewing the processes, identify the risk, look at whether controls are working fine, or help in implementing controls so that organization's objectives are achieved properly. That is what it says. But let us move ahead, and while we go ahead, we'll be able to look at multiple things. But here, when we talk about the basic principle, the first principle is independence. And independence is, ICI says, like, assuming I am an internal auditor in an organization in in-house function, and if I was involved in the implementation of an ERP, SAP or something, and playing an operating role, then will I be able to audit the implementation? The answer is possibly no. If you are an outside CA firm and you wrote policy procedure for the company, then will you be able to immediately do the internal audit to evaluate whether those policies and procedures are correct? The answer is possibly no. Okay. So that is where, and again, in terms of independence, that is the reason it says that the internal auditor, in-house or outside, should report to the audit committee and not to the CFO, because the moment it reports to CFO, will they be able to point out observations into the report and which are concerning the finance department without any undue pressure, and they may be pressurized to remove the observation, and that is what is independence. When you talk about integrity and objectivity, it says we have to work with utmost integrity, and we should be true and fair, and we should be not going with a witch hunt कि यहाँ पे गलती निकालनी है, या यहाँ पे fraud होएगा, या ये बंदा गलत कर रहा है तो इसके पीछे जाना है. No, go and review the process, and if you find out something, then definitely report. Due professional care. Due professional care is like, while doing the work, you need to ensure that you take adequate steps. जैसे कट ऑफ प्रोसीजर होता है, 31 मार्च तक का सब सेल हैज बीन रिकॉर्डेड और नॉट, all stocks are proper or not, XYZ. So which means when you go and do an audit, whether it is tax audit, whether it is company audit, or whether it is internal audit, you ask the client for data. That client sends you the data on Excel, on mail. Do you check like whether all PO or PR or invoice are covered? Or has the client deleted certain items and then given it to you? So that serial number check, etc., all will have to be done. That is due professional care. Confidentiality, again, an excellent thing. So, like in an organization, while you are doing audit of HR, and in that HR audit, the finance is impacted or someone is impacted, then share the report only to those people. Don't go and share to everyone. Don't go and keep talking to everyone. So the report has to be shared on need to know and need to do basis. जिसके पास एक्शन है या जिसको जानना चाहिए उसी को रिपोर्ट देना है, पैसे नहीं कि उठा के जिसको उसको रिपोर्ट दे रहे हो आप. No. So confidentiality is required to be mentioned within the client organization also. Skill and competency. In the new set of 16 standard, there is a separate standard on this. And ICI says that written communication is very important because you need to write report. Oral communication is very, very important. Then analytic skills are required. Interpersonal skills are required because आपको process होना था, समझना है, मिलना है, बात करना है, process understand करना है. You need to ask for data and you need to get the data. Knowledge of industry and knowledge of business is required. And again, there are qualifications on internal audit certification, risk management certification, which ICI conducts, and you may even do that along with CA. So that is what it is. Risk-based audit, there is a complete standard on that, and we'll cover that. But ultimately, this means that when we spend our time and energy, we need to spend on something which is high risk and lesser on the medium risk and lesser on the low risk. But I'll talk about that in little more detail. Let me cover the others also. Again, there is one standard now on analytic procedure in the new one which is coming up. And in the old one, there is one standard in 500 series on the IT environment. So systems and process focus, it says that in organization, it should not be people driven, it should be process driven. And while you are doing audit, if you find something like it is people driven and it is not process driven, then you should bring it out and you should encourage organization to implement processes and ensure that the process is implemented on a continuous basis. And when we talk about IFC, etc., we'll cover that as well. Okay. This again, the standard overall says that internal auditor should avoid the decision making or the operating processes. Okay. आप जाके रिव्यू करते हो स्क्रैप सेल प्रोसेस, तो स्क्रैप सेल की कमिटी में आपको नहीं बैठना चाहिए. If you are going and evaluating after implementation whether everything is fine, then you should not be preparing the user requirement document. That is what it talks about. Okay. To stay away from operating roles. Sensitive to multiple stakeholders. Again, if there are different people within the organization to whom your report is going to impact, then you should talk to everyone, get their input, come out on a judgment, look at the evidence, and then write your observation properly. And here, the quality and continuous check, it talks about internal quality check. When your team is doing work, there should be a team lead or a manager who keeps on talking to them, guides them, ensure that the coverage is properly done, etc. Then there should be a partner who reviews on a timely basis. The draft report, final report is reviewed by the partner, the team manager sends it to the process owner, gets the input, etc. And there should be an independent review also within the firm. मतलब एक partner के clients का काम दूसरे partner ने check करना चाहिए, that way is also required. And of course, after that, independent quality review, as we talk about peer review here also quality assurance of internal function is required to be carried out as per the standard. So these are the principles. Now let me cover the SIS first. So first 100 series is key concepts, 5 standards there. The first is the nature of assurance, and then there is one on risk, one on control, one on governance, one on law and compliances. Then there are 5 standards on internal management कि internal function में क्या होना चाहिए, और उसके बाद how do you prepare a plan. If you use a third party, what will you do? Once you look at these 10 standards, then you will go to really starting the assignment, that is conduct of assignment on 300 to 400 series, where we will talk about sampling, documentation, working paper, evidence, and reporting the result, 370. And then you go to 2 specialized areas where I talked about IT audit and third party audit. Now, in the new set of standard, there is something called as quality control standard also, which has been, which is coming out. So 16 more standards will come. Currently 19 and 16 more will come. So that will become total 35 standards. Nature of assurance. Okay. So again, I will cover this standard, then I'll stop, I'll take some questions, and then I'll move ahead. Okay. But let me cover this standard properly. So, see, when we talk about tax audit, we generally give annexures on whether TDS has been properly directed and properly paid and paid on time or not, or whether any delay. So you have to look at 100% 194C, 194J, whatever it is, all 12 months, and see what is the challan and the payment date and whether there was any delay, and report in your table. Similarly, 12 months PF, ASIC, etc., etc. So which means in a way the tax audit is true and correct. But when you talk about a private limited company or a private public limited company, external audit or statutory audit, then we say it is true and fair. So then the question is, when you do internal audit, what is it? Is it true and correct? Is it true and fair? Are you giving an absolute assurance? Are you giving a reasonable assurance? What is it that you're doing? एक बार अगर प्रोक्योर टू पे प्रोसेस का अगर मैंने ऑडिट कर लिया, तो एम आई गिविंग अ गारंटी कि there is no fraud at all, or there is no purchase at high value than the price available in the market, or there is no excess purchase, or there is no party purchase from related party? The answer is no. Sorry, we are not able to give that assurance, and which means we cannot give an absolute assurance. What we can give a reasonable assurance. Okay, that on the basis of sample or on the basis of test check, I have reviewed the process and this is what is going wrong, and here there are risks, and these are the controls which are required, or these are the controls which are not working. Okay, so again, if I go to one unique or beautiful concept that is in the value we studied, are we bloodhounds or are we watchdogs? So ultimately, you will all agree we are not bloodhounds. Okay, we are not going to go and do the investigation. We are only watchdogs, and that continues. Okay, so that is where this standard has come up, which says, okay, like what is the nature of assurance when you give an internal audit report. So, but again, this standard is applicable only on those situations where there is a subject matter. And let me first read the slide and then I'll talk to you in a little more detail. The subject matter should be first identifiable. Second, it should be measurable against our criteria. And third, it should be evidence. Okay. ये थोड़ा सा इंग्लिश ज़्यादा है, समझा नहीं रहेगा, तो लेट मी टेक एन एग्जांपल. Assuming in PLI, production link incentive scheme, a company, manufacturing company who falls in that category applies for PLI, and the company is putting up a plant where they need 1,000 crore rupees funding, and the regulator has released 300 crore rupees. Now the regulator tells the company, okay, go and get me a report from an independent auditor to ensure that all 300 crores which have been lended to you have been used for the purpose of putting up the factory, and not it has not gone to buy a car for your own house or building your own house. So that is where, what is the, is it identifiable? Yes, 300 crores. Is it measurable? Yes. For every payment or every expense, you will have a purchase, requisition, purchase order, a goods received note, a invoice, and a payment voucher. Can it be evidence? The answer is yes. You can see all this document. Then you come to this. There should be three component if it has to fall in 110. Three parties, which means here the company is one, they are the auditee, then I am the auditor, internal auditor, and then there is an assurance user. So that is the PLI or the regulator, third party. Is there a subject matter? Yes, the subject matter is the money which has been lended till now. What is the predefined criteria? It should be used for the purpose of making a factory. And has it been used for that or not? And if no, how much money was not used for that? A conclusive outcome. And can you give a written report? The answer is yes, you can give a written report. So when there is a subject matter which is identifiable, measurable, and evidence, and when there are three parties, one is the appointer, one is the internal auditor, and third is the user of the report, and then there is a subject matter, and then there is a report, it can be done. There are some examples which they have given, which you can see. Now here, assuming I am doing a procure to pay process, when I am doing a complete procure to pay process, then I am giving a reasonable assurance. But if my client tells me कि एक वेंडर मास्टर लेके पूरा डिटेल में देखना है, और वेंडर मास्टर में बोलना है कि हर एक वेंडर के लिए पैन नंबर है या नहीं, जीएसटी कैप्चर्ड है या नहीं, उनका एंटिटी का टाइटल और वो सब जो डिटेल्स है वो कैप्चर्ड है या नहीं, इन दैट सिचुएशन when you are doing 100% check on the part of a small part of the whole process, then you can give absolute assurance only for that small part of the process. Otherwise, it is only a reasonable or limited assurance that you are giving. Okay. So that is 110 nature of assurance. Now, before I go to, like I said, in 100 series, these are basic concepts. So first was nature of assurance. After this, there is one standard on controls. There is one standard on risk. There is one standard on governance, and there is one standard on compliance through laws and regulation. 120, 30, 40, and 50. I'll cover those by taking one example. But even before I go there, any questions, any input, you can put it into the chat box or you can raise your hand and we'll see. Abhay bhai, you are there? Abhay? Pratik, you are there? Okay. Anyone, Pratik, Dipti, or any moderator who is there? So, yes, I can see one hand, R. Vijay Raghavan. Okay, let me see. I think you can unmute and speak now, Vijay ji. Hello.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, 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 please, clearly.
Yeah, so I just wanted to ask, recently Institute of Internal Auditors US had come up with new internal audit standard principles.
Right.
Uh, that is one thing. So I am conversant with that. And second thing is the auditing, the internal audit, internal audit standards which you are referring to. Is that notified by the institute, or it will be notified in some time, in some future, in some
No, no.
future?
The 19 which we are covering today
Yes.
are already means like the standards have issued by the ICI. Okay. They are recommendatory in nature. It is good to have and you can try and use it or you should use it. Okay. But it is not compulsory or mandatory to any category of company as of today.
Okay.
And the 16 more which have been issued, which have been like prepared by ICI and they were put into the public domain for comments. Now the comments have been obtained. Now they are reworking on those standards. It will again go to the IASB, Internal Audit Standards Board, and then they will place it with the Central Council. And once the council approves it, then it will come into the public domain.
Okay, sir, I just want to ask, in this ERM framework, which certifications are useful other than CIA? Is Institute of Risk Management UK a useful one, or only certified internal auditor from US that is useful?
So you are talking about internal audit, right?
Yes,
Now
yes.
in internal audit, as I know, there is certified internal auditor from IIA, Institute of Internal Auditors Inc. USA, that is one. And
Okay,
ICI also issues a CIA certificate, okay?
okay,
ICA का course is limited, small one. The CIA which you do from IIA is a bigger one and that is globally acceptable, okay?
okay,
Now, at least on this forum, I'll not be able to say which one is good or bad, but then
okay.
that is how it is. But IIA is a global thing, and there is definitely arrangement, mutual recognition agreement between ICI and IIA, whereby you need to appear only for one paper and you can clear the exam and you can get the CIA certificate from IIA. Okay.
And sir, what about Institute of Risk Management from UK? Is that
That is
better?
again on the risk management thing, right? So
Okay,
similarly, a DRM, Diploma in Risk Management, ICI also offers. Then there is this risk management course from there also, you can do that.
okay,
Similarly, when you talk about fraud, there is a certified fraud examiner. There is one institute in India also, and there is a CFE US also. So
okay.
both are available. And similarly, like when you talk about IT audits, the
Hmm.
institute offers you diploma in information systems audit, and otherwise globally you go to apna ISACA, okay,
Okay,
Information Systems Audit and Control Association, and you can do CISA from them. And
okay,
if you want to go into security, then you can do CISSP or you can do CISSM. Okay. So there are multiple courses which ISACA also offers. Okay.
okay.
Yes. But of course, if you want to do what do you say, the this thing, uh, internal audit, then I'm sure you should pick up CIA. If you want to do IT audit, then CISA or DISA. If you want to do fraud investigation, CFE. If you want to do risk management, CRM, that will be helpful. Okay, not very
Correct.
necessary, but it will be helpful. Okay.
Thank you.
Hmm? Great. Thank you for that question. Let me then quickly move ahead. And what we'll do is we'll try to keep it like this. So anyone has got anything, they can raise the hand and I'll try to unmute. Okay. Now see, I am going a little basic. I don't know how many of you are from internal audit background, but before I go to the next four standard, let me take one example. And this example I am taking from HR and payroll. When an organization approaches me and says, कि like, please do an HR audit for my organization. Now, it will all depend on what is the size of organization and how many employees they have. Okay. Now, say if it is a small organization and they have 50, 100, 200 employees, then maybe you can do the whole process of HR end to end, and you can still complete the audit in a 6 weeks or 8 weeks time, in maybe 1.5 to 2 months, and give the report. But if it is a large organization, like say maybe Adani Green Energy or Tata Power or Reliance Power, and there are 20,000 employees, 15,000 employees, then the organization will be big. There will be a larger HR team. There will be a lot of different departments. There will be a lot of different type of people. The complexities will be large. There will be a lot of software and system they must be using. In that case, would you want to go and do the whole end-to-end HR audit, or would you want to break it up into small pieces? And when I say break it up into small pieces, can be one, recruitment. Now, recruitment will cover, do you have an organization hiring plan? Then which department will hire which type of people and how many? Then at the time of recruitment, where do you hire from? Is it a referral scheme? Are you going to a Naukri.com? Are you going to a recruitment agency and paying a fees XYZ? Do you have a job description? So there will be multiple things. After recruitment, then there is employee learning and development. That can be a separate process. कि कौन सा एम्प्लॉय को कितना ट्रेनिंग अटेंड करना पड़ता है, क्या करना पड़ता है, हु इज गोइंग, इज एचआर कंडक्टिंग समथिंग. देन देर कुड बी एम्प्लॉय हेल्थ सेफ्टी एंड वेल बीइंग. Okay, कि if they are working in which environment, and are they like is there enough precautions which have been done. Then there could be an what do you say, reward and recognition. Okay, how does the appraisal happen? How do you give them increments? How do you give them move promotions? How do you give them bonuses? How much bonus is given to whom? And then the last could be the whole payroll, where how do you capture your attendance and how do you calculate and give. Now, let me talk about a risk in HR. What can go wrong? So I'm sure you must be reading or hearing about many such risks, and one like which happened in Satyam, ghost employees. Okay, so although there were 100 employees, but payroll was getting processed for maybe 150 or 200, and that is a risk, right? Now there is a chance that I am working in a company in finance department. And in this particular month, May month, I was working, I was in office only for 15 days and I had taken leave for 7 or 8 days. But the person who is processing the payroll is a very dear friend of mine. And a file comes to him in Excel. So he sees 15 days, but I tell him, "Yaar, please make my attendance 22 days so that I get full month salary. And the additional amount which I get will share in cash." So he will go and make instead of 15, 22, and I can get paid more. Same can happen in overtime. I worked extra only for 4 hours, but I got paid for 10 hours possibly. So this is all the risk. Payment to employees who are not present. Payment to an employee is already resigned, but the payment is still going into his bank account. Okay. Payment for extra number of days, payment for extra number of hours, X, Y, Z. These are all risk. Then what is the control? See, again, while at the time of recruitment, what is the risk? In the recruitment, the risk is कि like the company has got access to Naukri.com, उसका लाख 2 लाख रुपया भरा है. I am in the hiring team. I go to Naukri.com, download the profile, and then do the interview, get the interview done by the process owner, hire. There is no cost. But what I do is I say that no, this was like this CV was given by a recruitment agency. And then I tell that recruitment agent to raise an invoice on the company. And that invoice will come for 8.33% of the CTC or 12% or 15%. And once that invoice comes, the company makes payment, and then that agency shares money with the person who was doing recruitment, because it has actually not given the CV. CV had come through Naukri.com or somewhere else. So these are type of risk. Now, what are the controls? The controls in this last case is, then you need to keep a tracker online where the moment CVs come, they need to put the name of the person, The mobile number, whatever ID, unique ID should be generated and say what is the source. So that later on and then do something difficult. Okay, that is one. Second, like say when we talk about the attendance, where like I worked only for 15 days but got paid for 22 days. Now when there is a risk there, so the software or systems could be that like there is a attendance capturing system. From the attendance capturing system, the payroll should directly go into the payroll calculation system. There should not be any manual intervention. No one should be allowed to touch, and it should not be an Excel template which comes to someone. Okay. Again, once the payment file is generated, it will go to someone else again. Delegation or maker and checker. Someone is making, someone is checking, it goes to someone else. That person, what he does, he sees last month how many employees, this year how many employees, last month what was the salary this month. He will do some ratio analysis, he will open the file, do some checking. And then once the checker is satisfied, he will say okay, and then only the payment will be made. So multiple are of these type of controls which can be placed into the thing. Now, these controls can sometimes be manual, sometimes be automated. And a manual control could be like when you enter the office, you sign yourself in a register, that is manual. Okay. Now, there could be while doing the audit, there are various techniques, observation technique, a security guard standing and seeing whether you are making only one entry or one thumb impression or one retina scan. That is an observation technique. Okay. Then there could be cameras which capture. So camera is a preventive control or detective control. Okay. So there are multiple of these which will have to be understood, okay, whether it is a manual control or automated, whether it is a preventive control or detective control. And what is a control? The control is something which helps in stopping the risk. The risk was making payment to extra people, making payment for extra hours, making payment for extra days, paying to a recruitment agency for providing a CV, although he did not provide the CV. XYZ is the risk. So, whereby there could be a loss to the organization. And anything which you put into the process, manual, automated, whatever, maker or checker, delegation authority metrics, to ensure that that risk reduces or does not happen. And hence, the cost can be reduced or the revenues can be increased. Those are all controls. Okay. So with that now background, let us look at the slide. See now as we speak, there is lot of requirement under the Companies Act also, and the requirement is like when you talk about internal control over financial reporting in India, there is a requirement on the board. There is a requirement under LODR, where the CEO and CFO are required to do a certification. So there are multiple of these requirements which are coming on the risk and on the control at different places. Okay. Similarly, there is also something on the internal control over financial reporting. Now, here let me also touch upon the internal control. See, when you talk about India, in India, wherever you are statutory auditor, and for that category of company, if internal control over financial reporting is applicable, then you will have to issue a separate report on internal control over financial reporting. Now, this separate report, which you will have to issue, before that, what will you do? So there is a clear guidance note by ICI for statutory auditor before you report an internal control over financial reporting. Second thing, if there is a small organization, then again there is a guidance note and you need to follow that guidance note before you issue the report. When you talk about US, the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, in the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, there is a management certificate under section 302, 302 or 404, where the CFO and CEO of the organization also certify that the processes are working fine and there is no risk. And then the statutory auditor will come and they will look at the design, the documentation of the risk control matrices. They will look at the operating effectiveness of the risk control matrix, and then the auditor will give a report which will be filed with the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC. In India, the statutory auditors are not required to submit the report to the SEC, but they are required to give a report as part of their statutory audit. Now, here again in India, see, what is required when you talk about internal control over financial reporting? One is the design. डिजाइन मतलब आरसीएम्स होना चाहिए. तो ये एचआर का विच आई वाज टॉकिंग अबाउट. एम्प्लॉय लर्निंग एंड डेवलपमेंट, is it going to impact the financial statement directly? The answer is no. So that is operating control, operating area. You may not cover under internal control over financial reporting. Employee health, safety, well-being, is it directly going to impact the financial statement? The answer is no. But payroll, is it going to directly impact the financial statement? The answer is yes. पेरोल में कुछ गड़बड़ हुआ तो पेरोल चेंज हो जाएगा तो पूरा फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट में प्रॉफिट और वो चेंज हो सकता है. तो दैट विल बी कवर्ड इन इंटरनल कंट्रोल और फाइनेंशियल रिपोर्टिंग. नाउ व्हाइल यू आर डूइंग अ पेरोल ऑडिट or you're issuing an internal control, then RCMs. Now there are many organizations जिसको when it is applicable for the first time, they don't have the time or they don't know how to make the risk control metrics, and which is where an assignment can come to firms like you and me, where we can go pick this process of payroll, create a risk control metrics for them, and for doing the designing or creating the risk control metrics, one time you get paid. That is number one. Number two, you need to go and do testing on behalf of management by taking the samples. That again, the management pays you money for that. And then the statutory auditor comes and does their own checking. Okay, that is something different. Now, in this payroll process or HR process, let me touch upon one more aspect, that is entity level control. Assuming a organization hires a newly qualified CA and someone who is known to me, say Pratik here is known to me. So Pratik, I'll give 12 lakh rupees as salary for a newly qualified. And Vijay comes, Vijay Raghavan, I don't know him and I'll pay him only 9 lakh rupees. No, that is not allowed. So there should be a table saying that a newly qualified CA will be hired as a consultant 2. A BCom will be hired as a consultant 1. And if it is a consultant 1 and a fresh BCom, then the salary will be 3 lakhs to 5 lakhs. If it is a CA, BCom with 4 years experience, then the salary, he will be senior consultant, salary will be this to this. So that table, and everyone who is appointed with the same qualification should fall in the same table. That is entity level control. Similarly, appraisal should happen every year. So while the appraisal happens, every employee should be going and doing their individual self appraisal first. Then the reporting manager should show the appraisal. If they both agree, good. If they don't agree also, then both the comments will come. Then it will go to the department head, and the department head will again sit and review. Okay, like what is the difference between the two, and then he will evaluate and do the final rating. Now, once there are 5,000 employees in the company, everyone is rated on a scale of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once 3 rating is done, then every person in the organization, whether it is production, marketing, finance, wherever, or whichever business, if there are different business, one is power, steel, cement business, different businesses, all the 3 rating will get the same increment. 8% means 8%. All 4 rating will get 10% means 10%. Then I cannot have a situation where Pratik is very dear to me, I like him, so everyone gets 8%, but I give 10% to Pratik. The answer is no, sorry. These are entity level controls. Now let me go ahead. So when I talk about internal control over financial reporting, I will show you the next slide and then quickly I'll cover the other slides and I'll stop. You see this slide. If it is only finance affecting control, then it is internal control over financial reporting first on the left hand side. If you add operating controls, then the whole becomes internal financial control. If you add entity level controls, like I said, scale of salary, appraisal process, rating process, then it becomes a control, internal control in the organization. Now, there are these multiple process level controls. There are IT controls also, and then there are entity level controls also. Everything put together becomes a control environment in our organization. Okay, so there was this standard on internal control so that you understand the concepts. Again, now there is the next standard 130 is on risk management. It talks about even like जैसे अभी थोड़ी देर पहला Mr. Raghavan asked about Vijay Raghavan. So like here, if an organization wants to implement enterprise risk management, then they can do complete ERM. And for ERM again, RCMs are required to be prepared. Then there should be a risk policy. then risk should have to be categorized into low, medium, and high. Then like you need to see like how they can be mitigated. And once the control is put into place, then the risk which was high can become medium and medium can become low. So it keeps on happening. And the whole structure and everything will require to be made. So again, ERM is again a responsibility under the Companies Act on the audit committee, on the board, on the management in multiple places. And implementing the whole ERM end to end in organization can be a good fees, and that can be anywhere between a 20 lakhs to 50 lakh rupees assignment. Okay, and there are tools also available which help in implementing ERM for organization. Let me then move ahead to the next one, that is governance. What is governance? Sir, any policy procedure is governance. Standard operating procedure is governance. Delegation of authority metrics. Can anyone issue any amount of PO in the organization? Can anyone sign any amount of check in the organization? The answer is no. Maybe accountant will be able to sign or issue PO up to 25 lakhs or 5 lakhs. His team manager will be able to issue PO up to 25 lakhs. The department head may be up to 50 lakhs. The CEO of the company may be 1 crore and the board may be 5 crore rupees. So depending on the company's turnover, depending on everything, that limit is mentioned. Okay, who can sign how much check, who can issue how much PO. So that delegation authority metrics is again governance. Reporting to various regulator is government. Various form of MIS is governance. So there are so many different things which can be a governance framework in an organization. Now with the POSH Act coming, Sexual Harassment Committee is governance. If you talk about larger organization, then audit committee is required and independent directors are required. Again, audit committee is a governance structure. सो ऑडिट कमेटी का मैंडेट क्या है, उनका स्कोप ऑफ वर्क क्या है, उनकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी क्या है, वो लिखना पड़ेगा. कौन लिखेगा? चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट लाइक यू एंड मी. रेम्यूनरेशन कमिटी वील ओनली राइट. तो देर इज इनफ एंड मोर वर्क देर ऑन द गवर्नेंस एज वेल. When you look at governance, it can be making a mission vision statement, organization goal and target, code of conduct, whistleblowing mechanism can be implemented by you. Then communication with various stakeholders, again a governance form. Writing to the governing bodies, regulators, organization design and structure, delegation of authority metrics like we discussed, multiple things. So there is enough and more work for chartered accountants like us here also. Then let us go to 150, the next standard. This is very clear. The standard says, boss, when you are doing audit for a manufacturing company, then वो मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कंपनी का नेचर ऑफ बिजनेस एक तो पहला आपको समझना चाहिए, नेचर ऑफ इंडस्ट्री. देयर इज अ न्यू स्टैंडर्ड इन द 16, but this standard talks about all the laws and regulation, which means if I am doing an HR audit for a manufacturing company or any company, then in HR, while doing the audit, I need to also look at कि TDS बरोबर काटा है कि नहीं, profession tax has been deducted or not. Then I need to look at the PF whether properly deducted and paid, ESIC, payment of bonus act, payment of gratuity act, that will be covered during the HR audit. If I'm looking at procure to pay audit, then on the services TDS properly deducted or not, on the purchases GST properly taken or not, input credit, all of those will get covered there. So why do you do the process which you do? If you are looking at fixed asset capitalization, then on a 100 rupees fixed asset, if 18 rupees GST is paid, will you capitalize the asset at 118 or 100? If the input credit is taken, then you will not capitalize at the gross value, you will capitalize at 100. But the input credit is not taken, or it for whatever reason is not available, then you will capitalize the whole asset at 118. So this talks about that. But again, there is requirement in the Companies Act and there is a responsibility on independent director and board. But even before I go ahead, let me tell you here, there is a beautiful opportunity also for us. If you Google now, there are a lot of compliance tools available. And many of these organizations, the board says, okay, whether you are complying with all regulations which are applicable or not, give us a report. And the management says CEO and CFO कि हम लोग तो busy है अपनी life में. So they come to CFM like you and me, where what we do is there is a tool available by a vendor and the vendor has got his own cloud. So the tool is hosted on the cloud, the compliance tool. The company can buy the compliance tool and pay the money directly to the vendor. I will go there as a CA, see for that company, for each business, each location, which compliance or regulations are applicable. Then I'll configure like what is the payment date, who will make the payment, who will do the checking, what is the due date for filing a return, who is the maker, who is the checker. And for each and every regulation, I'll configure everything. This is one time. When I understand the regulation applicable and go and configure on that software for the company, I can charge anything like 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs, 20 lakh rupees. And then if the company tells me कि every quarter आके report दो, तो every quarter I'll go pull the report from that compliance tool, see whether the challans, returns, etc. were paid on time or not, see everything is correct or not, and give a report which can be tabled with the board. And for that report, every quarter I can charge 25,000 or 50,000. If I'm charging 50,000, तो 4 क्वार्टर का 2 लाख. अगर 100 क्लाइंट करूं तो 2 करोड़ रुपया. Are you with me? So that is where it is. So again, huge, massive opportunity. But here, मैनेजमेंट का टोन एट द टॉप कि कुछ भी है चलेगा, ब्राइब दे दो चलेगा, नहीं अगर हुआ कंप्लाई तो ठीक है, नहीं हुआ तो भी चलेगा, वैसा नहीं. ठीक है. देन वेदर देयर इज अ कंप्लायंस ऑफिसर, व्हाट इज दिस थिंग, मल्टीपल ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम, कंप्लायंस टूल, डिप्लॉइंग टेक्नोलॉजी, एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा. So friends, with that, I complete the 100 series first, but let me stop here, summarize, take few questions and then go ahead. So 110 was nature of assurance. आप जब भी रिपोर्ट देते हो तो आपके एब्सोल्यूट एश्योरेंस दे रहे हो? नहीं, आप दे रहे हो या तो लिमिटेड एश्योरेंस या रीजनेबल एश्योरेंस. ओके, दैट इज नंबर वन. नंबर टू, what is risk? I think I took some example and told you. What is control? I took some example and told you. We discussed about the laws and regulation and the governance. Now, what are the opportunities? Opportunities like is in an organization और इंडिया में बहुत स्टार्टअप्स है. Startups, the promoter knows how to do business, but he does not know like whether in what is the method in which it is required to be done. So standard operating procedure, policy and procedure, depending on the size of the organization, you can charge anything from 10 lakh rupees to 30 40 lakh rupees. You can create a delegation authority matrix. For an organization, you can implement an enterprise risk management tool. For an organization, you can implement a compliance tool and you can do a compliance report every quarter. Wherever internal control is applicable, आप जाके डिजाइन आरसीएम बना सकते हो. आप मैनेजमेंट के बिहाफ पे टेस्टिंग कर सकते हो. एंड इफ यू आर स्टैट्यूटरी ऑडिटर where internal control or financial reporting is applicable, then you will have to again look at the design, look at the testing, and give the separate report. So there are these multiple opportunities which are available, okay, in these standards, doing multiple things. And again, on MIS also, you can create a lot of, use Tableau and create a lot of beautiful dashboard. You can learn Excel, Power Queries, SQL, Python, and you can create a lot of MIS for the organization as well. So enough and more things which can be done. Lots of opportunities in this space. With that, let me stop for a minute, see if there are any questions. Anyone, any question, you can please raise your hand. I'll try to unmute you and then try to see what can be done. Yusuf Beg, one basic principle IAS independence. Considering this principle, FM head of finance wants internal auditor to work under him and as per his order. Is it not violating the basic principle of internal audit? Yes, Yusuf Bhai, it is violating the basic principle of internal audit. The internal auditor should not be reporting to the finance function. That is what the standard also says. Internal auditor should be appointed by the audit committee. Appointment letter should come from them, and independent internal auditors report should also go to the audit committee. Okay. And in fact, the Companies Act now even goes and says for public limited companies that the internal auditor should meet. Okay. The internal auditor should meet, what do you say, the audit committee one-to-one in camera separately as well. Any other questions? If you want to raise your hand, I can even unmute you and then we can talk and then we can move ahead. Okay, just let me see. I am struggling to find out. Oh, Manish. Yes, Manishi, I have unmuted you. You can unmute and.
Uh, Sir, what are the tools available?
Okay, tools for
Name of the
what?
tools.
For what?
Compliance tool.
Compliance tools. See, compliance tools are many, Manishi. एक लेगाट्रिक्स करके है, ठीक है. एक लेक्स कंप्लाई है। तो वैसे बहुत सारे हैं टूल्स, आप खाली गूगल भी करोगे तो आपको मिल जाएंगे, काफ़ी सारे टूल्स है। तो कितने वेंडर्स है, ये लोग क्या करते हैं कि ये कंप्लायंस टूल बना देते हैं, ये और उनके पास एक बैटरी ऑफ लॉयर्स और टैक्स एक्सपर्ट्स होते हैं ऑन द बैक एंड। तो दे कीप ऑन अपडेटिंग। नाउ अगेन व्हेन यू सब्सक्राइब और एनी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन योर क्लाइंट सब्सक्राइब्स टू दिस compliance tool, then that time what happens is you will have to go and select कि whether it is a हॉस्पिटल है तो उसके लिए अलग रहेगा, होटल है तो उसके लिए अलग रहेगा। होटल में क्या रहेगा कि भाई फूड लाइसेंस भी देखना पड़ेगा, ठीक है। फार्मा कंपनी है तो उसके लिए अलग रहेगा, ठीक है। मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कंपनी है तो इतने सारे कायदे हैं। तो देर विल बी डिफरेंट डिफरेंट थिंग्स विच विल बी डन। ओके, आई होप आई
Thank you, sir.
योर क्वेश्चन मनीष जी।
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
सी अगेन, लाइक इफ समवन टेल्स यू कि मेरे को एक फ्रॉड गवर्नेंस फ्रेमवर्क चाहिए, तो फिर एक विसल सेनेटल करके टूल है, उसका कंपनी है डीबी टेक। तो विसल सेनेटल क्या होता है कि ये बंदे का एक क्लाउड पे वापस सॉफ्टवेयर है, ये आपके क्लाइंट के सर्वर पे भी डाल सकते हैं ऑन प्रीमाइस, एंड ही इज ऑल्सो अवेलेबल ऑन क्लाउड। अभी ये बंदा क्या करेगा, आके उधर कंपनी के सब एम्प्लॉयज को पहला ट्रेनिंग देगा कि व्हाट इज अ फ्रॉड, व्हाट इज एन एरर, व्हाट इज अ सेक्सुअल हरासमेंट, व्हाट इज हाई मीडियम लो, हाउ कैन यू रिपोर्ट, ये वो सब। देन दे विल क्रिएट स्क्रीन सेवर्स ऑन एम्प्लॉयज कंप्यूटर, दे विल ऑल्सो क्रिएट पोस्टर्स इन द कंपनी, and then the employees or vendors can directly call up the call center independently, which will land into that consultant or the vendor's premises. तो वेंडर के उधर डेटाबेस बनेगा जिसके अंदर अगर वो बंदा अपना नाम देगा तो ठीक है, नहीं देगा तो एनोनिमस होएगा रिकॉर्ड, और बोलेंगे कि ये टाइप का कंप्लेन है, ये बंदे के अगेंस्ट में है, ये ब्राइब ले रहा है इसके लिए है, या ये एक्स्ट्रा परचेज हाई वैल्यू पे परचेज कर रहा है इसके लिए है, ये सेक्सुअल हरासमेंट कर रहा है इसके लिए है। So all those complaints can come. Someone can even write a mail directly to our independent mail ID, and all of those are tabulated, and the report can be given on a regular basis. So that is also there. Okay. So there are various different type of tools which are available. I just talked about now compliance and the one which you asked me, that was on the this thing. Okay. Let me just see if there is anything else in the question answer. Question answer, there is nothing here. Okay. So, if there is nothing else, let me proceed ahead quickly. Okay, just 1 minute. Okay. In the QA, there are three. Acha. Sir, I did not clear CA final. I took a break for 5 years. At present, I have plans for Internal. How can I learn more and do good work in Internal? See, I think the whole thing is you will have to do basic, a lot of, as I say, practical. You will have to attend these sessions. At WRC also we are trying, and at other Navi Mumbai branch etc. also we'll do a 1 day program where like what we can do is प्रोक्योर टू पे प्रोसेस, उसके ऊपर एंड टू एंड एक करेंगे। जैसा अभी मैंने थोड़ा सा पेरोल के बारे में समझाया, तो पेरोल के ऊपर एंड टू एंड करेंगे। तो वैसे अलग अलग जगह पे प्रोसेसेस आपको पूरा मालूम होना चाहिए कि कौन सा प्रोसेस क्या होता है। एंड इन द नेक्स्ट 30 minutes आई ऑल्सो कवर 1 or 2 more प्रोसेस एंजल, एंड दोज प्रोसेसेस कैन बी पिक्ड अप। बट एचआर का तो मैंने काफी सारा आपको बताया, ठीक है। अभी मैं थोड़ा सा प्रोक्योरमेंट और वो लेके भी करूंगा। तो यू हैव टू अंडरगो लॉट ऑफ दीज कोर्सेज और ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम लेक्चर्स यू हैव टू अटेंड, एंड यू कैन ऑल्सो लुक एट। सो इन केस there is a, like someone is asking, Jitendra Mohan is asking, in case for government department in specific format of internal by ICI. See, in ICI there are two, like right now if you look at these which will cover the the SIA is 370 reporting result. Okay. And now in the new SIA there is 380, that talks about issuing report, assurance report as per nature of assurance. Okay, issuing assurance report 380, लेकिन किधर भी फॉर्मेट नहीं दिया है, बट जनरली द फॉर्मेट इज अ पावर पॉइंट फॉर्मेट, and in that PowerPoint format reports are required to be done, and whether it is a private limited company, public limited company or government organization, the format will remain the same. अभी कोई वर्ड में रिपोर्ट देता नहीं है, एक्सेल में रिपोर्ट देता नहीं है, जनरली एवरीवन डज इट इन पावर पॉइंट। ओके, so that is what it is. Okay, so I would say that way, but let me again, as I proceed ahead I'll cover those also. So we have little patience and I'll cover that also, like how do we report and what do we report. Okay, let me then quickly move ahead a little. So let me go back to the thing slides. Okay, and I'll stop again in some time to take some more questions. Okay, so now coming to the next set of standards, and I'll cover all the standards quickly, And then after finishing 200, I'll stop so that we are all clear on multiple other things, and then we go into the actual doing of the assignment, where I'll again take some example. So when you look at this standard says managing the internal function, which means कि if there is a CA firm, then in-house internal like for multiple clients, how will you do the internal? And if it is a in-house internal function in a company, then what will you do? So in an in-house internal function, again, it says there should be an audit charter. The audit charter should be approved by the audit committee. There should be a mission, there should be a vision, okay, and everything. When you talk about whenever you are doing internal audit, you should have a जैसे policy procedure होता है, policy procedure होना चाहिए. एक तो पहला, a complete plan has to be prepared. Then the plan has to be approved by the audit committee, board. Then you should get an appointment letter. And then overall, you should have a methodology. How will you execute the audit? And how will you issue the report? There should be a standard report format. Are you going to rate the observation? If yes, how will you rate it? And all of those is required to be documented by way of one document, which will be a complete, what do you say, internal manual or audit manual as they call. Then how many people, what is the skill set that is required to do the audit? That is very important. Let me go to the next one. Now here the standard is beautiful. This talks about conducting overall internal planning. अब यहाँ पे क्या होता है सर कि like a client approaches you and says कि like okay, I want to appoint you to do internal audit in my organization. Then how many audit will you do? And how much fees will you charge? So the standard says that सबसे पहला तो आपको audit universe बनाना है. What is audit universe? Okay, so in that client or in that company, what is auditable? जैसे like I talked about HR earlier. In HR, what did I say? I said that HR can be broken up into, if it is a large organization, one, employee learning and development, health, safety, well-being, reward and recognition, recruitment and payroll, 5 process. Similarly, will you do a complete finance function audit? The answer is possibly no. How can you break it up? You can break it up into revenue and receivable, procure to pay, inventory, warehousing, logistic, MIS and reporting, means budget versus actual planning, forecasting, rolling forecast, everything. Various type of MIS can be one. Closing the financials, reporting the financials, that can be one. Direct tax, indirect tax. So compliances to regulation could be one. Treasury cash management could be one. There could be multiple processes. Now in your client organization, these processes could be, which are auditable, could be 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, anything. Assuming there are 70 or 60 areas which are required to be audited, then you should have two things, impact and likelihood. If something goes wrong on a scale of 1 to 5 for that client, what will be the impact? अगर क्लाइंट का टर्नओवर 10 करोड़ है तो 1 करोड़ या 50 लाख could be very high impact, and 5 lakh could be possibly a low impact. That scale will have to be created. And on a scale of 1 to 5, what is low, what is medium, what is high will have to be worked out. Similarly, the likelihood of happening, whether it will happen in 1 month, every month, TDS delay will happen every month, whether this wrong publicity or bad reputation will happen once in a year, once in 2 years, once in 3 years, whatever, that likelihood of happening. And multiplication of both will again then define whether the process is high, medium or low. Now, while doing this process or when the audit universe is prepared to identify which process is high, which is medium, which is low, what will happen is, you will have to first look at the enterprise risk management ERM register कि ERM में क्या क्या रिस्क है कौन से प्रोसेस में. Then fraud risk register, कभी fraud हुआ है कौन से प्रोसेस में हुआ है. Then you will need to talk to the audit committee and the board and get their input. Then you will talk to the CEO, CFO, and all the audit heads, the C suits, get their input by doing a key control questionnaire. Then you'll have to even go and see when the audit was done last time and how many observations were there. एंड ये सब देखते हुए सब कुछ लेके आपको रेटिंग करना पड़ेगा प्रोसेसेस का. एंड वंस यू डन द रेटिंग, assuming 10 areas are high risk, then the standard says that all high risk to be done every year. 20 are medium risk, then the standard says कि like every medium risk should be done once in 2 years, मतलब 10 और करना पड़ेगा. And 30 are low risk, the standard says that once in 3 years, which means 10 more करना पड़ेगा. तो 10 high, 10 medium, 10 low, 30. Now if you are an outside CF firm and 30 ऑडिट करना है, तो आप एक ऑडिट का एटलीस्ट 3 लाख रुपया तो कोट करोगे कम से कम. एक्चुअली आपको 4 करना है, 5 लाख करना है, लेकिन आप 3 लाख तो करोगे. 3 लाख करोगे और 90 लाख रुपया बोलोगे, तो क्लाइंट सेज नहीं, माई बजट इज नॉट दैट मच, माई बजट इज ओनली 15 lakhs. So then you tell the client, in 15 lakh I can do only 5 audit. But which 5 now? All 5 high risk, or some high risk, some medium risk, some low risk. So again, you'll have to go and sit and do some assessment, then table the complete listing to the board or audit committee. Let the board decide okay, which 5 areas will be audited by you or which 4 area will be audited by you. Assuming the company says, okay, do these 4 areas for me: procurement, compliance to laws and regulation, revenue and receivable, and fixed asset capitalization. Excellent. Get an engagement letter from them, get it minuted into the board meeting minutes. And let the CEO of the company or audit committee chairman sign the appointment letter and give it to you. Now, 4 areas, each audit you charge 5 lakh rupees, 20 lakh can be the fees, you charge 3 lakh rupees, 12 lakh can be your fees. So that is where the whole planning of internal audit is required. Now, if you're doing statutory audit, पहले कारों में क्या लिखा था? Is the internal audit commensurate with the size and nature of business of the company? That's it. Commensurate का मतलब क्या है कि रीजनेबल है क्या नहीं. इतना बड़ा कंपनी है तो एक रिपोर्ट साल का देके चलेगा क्या, 4 रिपोर्ट करना चाहिए, ये सब आपको लिखना था. अभी क्या है, अभी कारों में और डिटेल में गया है कि इंटरनल ऑडिटर ने रिस्क बेस्ड आईए प्लान बनाया है कि नहीं, ये किया है कि नहीं, इंटरनल ऑडिट इज प्रोफेशनली क्वालिफाइड कि नहीं. इफ यू आर डूइंग स्टैट्यूटरी ऑडिट ऑल्सो यू नीड टू लुक एट ऑल ऑफ दोज. And if you're doing internal audit, then the statutory auditor will ask all of those. And which means it is very important for you to first create the audit universe, then do a risk assessment, then go to the board for approval, then ensure that you got an audit methodology which was there in 210, then ensure that you got the right type of people and qualification, and then you need to decide and showcase. Okay, I do analytic procedure, I do sampling, I do this, and then satisfy the statutory auditor and even do a good work of it. So I hope I have covered 210 and 220 properly. In very, very large organization, they appoint firms like us to come and prepare the audit universe, do the risk assessment, prepare a risk audit plan for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and table to the board and get the approval. Okay. तो खाली audit plan बनाने के लिए भी appoint करते हैं. Let me go ahead. Objective of internal audit. So while you are doing in-house internal audit function or you are an outside CA firm, you need to prepare an audit charter. You need to take a proper engagement letter. In the engagement letter, you should write what is your objective, what are you trying to do, trying to ensure that all risks are identified, all controls are working or not, key controls are working or not, whether it is complying to the policy procedure written by the organization or not, whether it is complying to all the laws and regulation or not. These are various things which I'm going to look at. And while you do the report, every report should have a section on the scope and then the objective of the engagement. That is what the standard says. Let me go ahead to the next one, 240, using the work of an expert. तो क्या होता है कि your client is setting up warehouses or factories across India. And the client says कि ये जो वेरियस में वेयरहाउसेस कंस्ट्रक्ट कर रहा हूँ, तो लैंड आई बाई और टेक ऑन रेंट, आई गिव इट टू अ कॉन्ट्रैक्टर, एंड द कॉन्ट्रैक्टर को मैंने एक एग्रीमेंट एंटर किया एंड आई हैव टोल्ड द कॉन्ट्रैक्टर टू बिल्ड द वेयरहाउस फॉर मी. Now, whether the contractor is using the right type of steel or not, right quality of cement or not, whether he is using enough cement or not, whether he is building it on time or not, whether there is a delay, whether there is escalation in his contract, whether he is asking for more money from him, whether the thickness of the wall was supposed to be 6 inches or 6 inches है कि 8 inches है, ये सब मेरे को देखना है. ये क्लाइंट आपको स्कोप दे रहा है. सी, एज एन इंटरनल ऑडिटर आई एम अ सुपरमैन. आज मैं मैन्युफैक्चरिंग का करता हूँ, कल फार्मा करता हूँ, परसों मीडिया करता हूँ, एक दिन प्रोक्योरमेंट करता हूँ, एक दिन रिसीवेबल करता हूँ, एक दिन फिक्स एसेट करता हूँ, एक दिन कंप्लायंस करता हूँ. सो आई थिंक आई नो एवरीथिंग, बट टुडे दैट इज नॉट द टाइम. द क्लाइंट यर टेल्स मी कि ब्रिक 6 इंच का लगा है या 8 इंच चेक करना है, 5,000 स्क्वायर फीट का स्लैब डालने के लिए सीमेंट कितना बैग लगना चाहिए था और कितना लगा है, वो स्लैब बरोबर है या नहीं, लोखंड कितना जाना चाहिए था 2 माले के स्लैब में, उतना गया है कि नहीं गया है। ये काम मैं नहीं कर पाऊंगा, लेकिन मेरे स्कोप में है, तो आई शुड अपॉइंट एन एक्सपर्ट who is either a civil engineer or mechanical engineer or electrical engineer. When I am doing audit of a software implementation, then I should appoint an engineer or IT engineer who understands software. अगर मैं कोई टेलीकॉम कंपनी के लिए फाइबर ऑप्टिक का काम कर रहा हूं, तो मेरे को वो इंजीनियर चाहिए, नेटवर्क इंजीनियर, जिसको डक्ट क्या होता है समझना चाहिए, फाइबर क्या होता है समझना चाहिए। अगर मैं कोई टावर का जाके ऑडिट करता हूँ टेलीकॉम कंपनी में, तो टावर के अंदर रेडियो क्या है, बीटीएस क्या है, एंटीना क्या है, ये नॉलेज होने वाला नेटवर्क इंजीनियर चाहिए। So that way, that is where the standard says कि you, if you don't have the skills, then you can appoint an independent expert. But yes, again, when you appoint the independent expert, what is your role? Can you just write a note in the report saying that like this work has been done by an expert, so I don't know anything? Sorry, no. The standard says you need to define the scope that you want that expert to do. You need to assess whether that expert is properly qualified. Then you need to give an appointment letter to the expert and get a confirmation from him. Then you need to help the expert in planning various meetings in your client organization, ensuring that the data is given on time, talking to him and ensuring that he is doing the work on time and ensuring that he does proper work. And then looking at his working paper, reviewing everything and ensuring, although technical knowledge तुमको नहीं है, लेकिन ये तो देखना पड़ेगा कि उसने काम किया है नहीं किया है, और प्रॉपरली किया है कि नहीं, जो चेक करना चाहिए था वो किया है कि नहीं, फिर उसका रिपोर्ट लेके आपके रिपोर्ट में ऐड करना है, and ultimately you will be responsible for the work that you do. I hope this is clear. Let me go ahead in the interest of time, and then I will stop after this standard after 250. So again, communication with those charged with governance of the company. इसमें क्या होता है सर कि as you go ahead, see first, preparing an audit plan, talking to the board, the C-suite, etc. Then talking to the audit committee and getting approval, or the CEO and getting approval. Then while doing the audit, sending an opening memo, doing an opening meeting, writing a minutes, doing a closing meeting, all of those gets covered. Then draft report, जिसके साथ में काम कर रहे हो उसको ड्राफ्ट ऑब्जर्वेशन देना है, उससे उसका फीडबैक लेना है, उसके बाद चेंजेस करने हैं, देन इशू द फाइनल रिपोर्ट. After the report is issued, then on the audit follow-up, on the open observation follow-up, there is a separate standard on that. So multiple of these things are required to be done. So at various places, there are various touch points, and everything oral or written is a communication with multiple people who are charged with governance in the company. So that is a standard. Now, then we go to the next 300 series. So before I proceed ahead, maybe if there are one or two questions I can take, yeah. Otherwise, if you allow me, I'll cover the 300 series quickly. And once I do that, then I will stop. I'll take your questions so that like everything can be covered at one go and it can be closed. Okay. So we are at 6:20. You will have to have patience with me and give me 20 more minutes. Now let me talk about a process procure to pay. अगर अभी मेरे प्लान के अंदर एक है प्रोक्योर टू पे, एक है रेवेन्यू रिसीवेबल, एक है कंप्लायंस एंड एक है फिक्स एसेट, तो आई एम टेकिंग प्रोक्योर टू पे इन द फर्स्ट क्वार्टर. So while doing procure to pay, the first standard is planning the audit. Second standard is understanding the nature of business, etc. Then the sampling, then the working paper, then the evidence, and then the last one will be reporting results. So procure to pay में boss, you need to understand whether your client is using SAP, Oracle, Tally, Zoho, Odoo, क्या, whether warehouse management system अलग है, purchase order किधर से आ रहा है, and all of those. The procurement process starts with purchase requisition. Who is raising the purchase request? Is the user department raising the purchase request? At what level, how much amount? Is there a delegation authority matrix के lowest बंदा 5 लाख का रिक्वेस्ट करेगा, टीम मैनेजर 25 लाख का रिक्वेस्ट करेगा, क्या है वो? Once the request is done, the request goes to the procurement team in the system. Is it going in system? Is it going manually? Procurement में someone must be doing procurement of services and someone must be doing procurement of goods. Who raises the purchase order? How much level? If my authority matrix limit is 25 lakhs and I am raising purchase order for 25 lakhs or for 26 lakhs. Once I raise, I am the maker. Does it go to my reporting manager and does he approve in the system? क्या ये order बरोबर है? Checker. Before someone raises a purchase request, does he see the stock quantity है या नहीं? अगर stock already है तो फिर stock issue कर देना चाहिए. वापस नया request क्यों करने का order करने के लिए? Before raising the purchase order, the procurement team, do they check who is the vendor on whom to raise? So which means going to the vendor master. For every item of raw material that you purchase, do you have more than one or at least three vendors or not? Then the whole vendor registration process comes into play. Vendor registration जब भी माल खरीदने का तभी vendor ढूंढने को निकलना चाहिए कि on a regular basis vendor ढूंढ के उसका registration करते रहना चाहिए. अगर vendor normally ढूंढना है तो how do you identify the vendor? How do you do the registration? What is the information that you ask for? So from a vendor, you will ask for that permanent account number. You will ask for the GST registration certificate. You will ask whether it's a proprietor or a partnership or a company. You will go and do a background check. So there are all of these which will be created in the vendor master. Now, who will create the vendor master? Maybe the master data management team in the IT, not the procurement guy. Okay. Then once the order is raised, the material will be delivered to the warehouse. तो उधर गुड्स रिसीव नोड बनता है क्या नहीं? पहला गुड्स रिसीव नोड बनेगा क्या पहला क्वालिटी चेक होएगा? तो पहला क्वालिटी चेक होना चाहिए, देन गुड्स रिसीव नोड बनना चाहिए. गुड्स रिसीव नोड बनेगा तो इनवॉइस इनवॉइस किधर आना चाहिए? विल द इनवॉइस गो टू द वेयरहाउस? द आंसर इज नो. विल द इनवॉइस गो टू द प्रोक्योरमेंट टीम? द आंसर इज नो. Will the invoice go where? The invoice will go to the payment team in the finance function because they only need the invoice. They want to process the payment. नाउ अगर वेयरहाउस में गया तो वेयरहाउस वाला इनवॉइस दबा के रखेगा, देगा ही नहीं फाइनेंस को. प्रोक्योरमेंट में जाएगा तो प्रोक्योरमेंट वाला दबा के रख सकता है और वेंडर को बोलेगा नहीं भाई पहला मेरा कमीशन दे तो मैं तेरा इनवॉइस आगे बढ़ाता हूँ. जरूरत ही नहीं है, जरूरत ही नहीं उधर देने का क्यों? नाउ व्हाट इज द रिस्क इन प्रोक्योरमेंट? द रिस्क इन प्रोक्योरमेंट इज has the organization purchased at a price higher than it is available in the market? मतलब अगर एक वेंडर ये मोबाइल 50,000 में दे रहा था तो मैंने क्या 55,000 में तो नहीं बाई कर लिया? और ये जो 55,000 में बाई किया मेरा कोई रिलेटेड पार्टी तो नहीं है. मेरे को चाहिए था 100 kg मटेरियल, मैंने क्या 200 kg का ऑर्डर तो नहीं कर दिया? एक्सेस परचेज ऑफ मटेरियल. देन substandard quality of material being received. So these are all risk. Now एक्सेस परचेस नहीं होना चाहिए, इसके लिए कंट्रोल क्या है? पहला रीऑर्डर लेवल ये वो देखना है, स्टॉक क्वांटिटी कितना है देखना है, देन परचेज रिक्वेजिशन विल गो. Purchase requisition again raised by someone maker and then checked by someone checker so that excess purchase is not done. Now, whether it is purchased at the best price or at a price higher than the market, that is where tender, three quotation, comparative statement, request for proposal, RFP, RFQ, etc. All of these, purchase committee, independent people on purchase committee. This is the control. Substandard material तो नहीं आ गया तो quality check before making GRN. Someone independent, the person who understands quality will go into the quality check. So there are multiple risks in procurement and there are these multiple controls which will have to work. Let me talk about sampling. आप लोग मेरे को मालूम है 100% सब लोग टैक्स ऑडिट करते होंगे अगर आप प्रैक्टिस में हो तो. और आप many of you must be doing statutory audit also and if you are in industry also you must be doing the audits. So there is a essay standard on auditing on sampling and there is a essay there is a SIA also on sampling. Now see sample, what happens is generally people say when I ask about sampling people say the vendor from whom the highest number of purchase is done we select. When there is a high rate purchase जो आइटम का रेट ज़्यादा है वो हम लोग ले लेते हैं. These are all random or judgmental sampling. Okay. Statistical sampling is possibly take if there are 20,000 POs are issued. Even before I go there, sampling standard essay says That sample size depends on the frequency of control. If it is a yearly control, one sample. If it is a monthly control like bank reco, minimum two, maximum three. If it is a daily recurring control, then minimum 25, maximum 40. What is a daily recurring control? Raising a purchase requisition, raising a purchase order, invoice, getting an invoice and processing an invoice, making a bank payment or preparing a check, making a cash payment or preparing a petty cash voucher. All of these are daily recurring control. In daily recurring control, minimum 25, maximum 40. 25 से कम है तो negligence of duty. Now, in your firm, you should have a sampling guidelines. क्या अगर my client's turnover is 10 crores, then I'll do 50 samples. My client's turnover is 10 crores to 25 crores, then I'll do 100 sample. Now, assuming there is a मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कंपनी जिसका टर्नओवर है 50 करोड़ और आपकी फर्म में ये गाइडलाइंस है कि 100 सैंपल सेलेक्ट करना है प्रोक्योरमेंट में, 80 सैंपल सेलेक्ट करना है सेल्स में, देन हाउ विल यू सेलेक्ट दोस 50? सो 100 में से 50 कैन बी रैंडम, 50 कैन बी स्टैटिस्टिकल. Now, statistical means if there are 20,000 PO issued by the client, 20,000 divided by 50, which is your sample size, your nth number will be 400. The first random number is 3. Then the second will be 403, 803, 1203, 1603. So PO number 3, 403, 803, 1203, 1603 will have to be selected. And for that PO, you will have to fill up a compliance checklist. Okay, what is the purchase requisition number, date, item code, quantity. Then the purchase order number, date, vendor name, vendor code, rate, and quantity. Even before purchase order, whether there were 3 quotations and comparative statement. Then the GRN, quality check. After quality check, GRN number, date, quantity, GRN quantity. Then you will see कि GRN quantity PO quantity exceed तो नहीं हो गया, मांगा था 100, उसने लाके डंप कर दिया 200. चाहिए नहीं लेकिन पैसा तो मेरे को देना पड़ेगा और बाद में वो स्लो मूविंग या नॉन मूविंग हो जाएगा. उसके बाद बिल, बिल आएगा तो 3 वे मैच हो रहा है कि नहीं, क्वांटिटी पीओ के हिसाब से है कि नहीं, टर्म्स पीओ के हिसाब से है कि नहीं, क्वांटिटी जीआरएन के हिसाब से है कि नहीं, क्वालिटी बरोबर है या नहीं. एंड देन द इनवॉइस विल बी प्रोसेस एंड पेमेंट विल हैपन. Payment again, look into the bank statement, not only the vendor register. The this thing will be vendor account debit to bank entry मार दिया और बैंक रिको में खड़ा है, एक्चुअली पेमेंट किया ही नहीं, तो जाके बैंक स्टेटमेंट में चेक करना है. So the compliance checklist. Now, while you select the sample in your statutory audit or internal audit, there should be in procure to pay, there should be a first page saying that audit for the year ended so and so, procurement audit, 20,000 POs were issued, 100 samples were selected, 50 judgmental and 50 statistical. In statistical, 20,000 divided by 50 was 400 was the nth number. First the random number was 3 and hence 3, 403, 803 was selected as sample. रैंडम नंबर में ये वेंडर के पास सेलेक्ट किया बिकॉज हाई वैल्यू था, ये था, ये था. दैट डॉक्यूमेंट इज रिक्वायर्ड, विच मीन्स व्हाट विल हैपन कि 403 मैंने चेक किया बिकॉज मेरे सैंपल में है, 404 नहीं किया, 405 नहीं किया, 406 नहीं किया, इज वेरी क्लियर. And if that 404, 5 or 6 is a vendor where high value purchases happen and that was not selected in my sample, then I can get away. But if you don't write what you selected and why you selected, then you are responsible for everything, because if you have put a green tick and you don't know what you audited. और उसके लिए डॉक्यूमेंट करना बहुत ज़रूरी है कि आपने क्या सेलेक्ट किया और कैसे किया और क्यों किया. तो दैट इज ऑन द सैम्पलिंग. Now, once all of this is done, maybe there is an observation saying that like the item was purchased at a price which was higher than the market rate. There was a vendor available to sell the product at 50 rupees per kg, but the company went and purchased at 70 rupees per kg. So they paid higher money and they purchased so many 100,000 kgs and hence they paid 20 lakh rupees more. Very good. That is your observation. But observation will need supporting evidence. एंड एविडेंस का मतलब क्या है कि वो जो आप बोल रहे हो कि और किसी का 50 रुपए का रेट था, उसका रेट आपने किधर से निकाला, आपने जिसको दिया है कंपनी ने उसका 170 का रेट है, वो उसका किधर है, ये सब अंदर रखना पड़ेगा. व्हेन यू राइट समथिंग एज एन ऑब्जर्वेशन, देन यू शुड हैव एविडेंस सपोर्टिंग दैट टू प्रूव कि यस व्हाट यू आर राइटिंग इज करेक्ट. खाली किसी की बात सुन के ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ योर से यू कैन नॉट राइट इन एन इंटरनल ऑडिट रिपोर्ट. So that was on the sampling. And documentation is everything. Third party confirmation, independent confirmation is documentation. Looking at contract is documentation. So everything is documentation. So here again, let me come back to this standard, friends. Planning and audit. Procure to pay me. While I am doing the planning, I'll have to see okay, which factory, which location, which plant I'm going to do the audit, what is the period of audit, how many sample will I select, how will I select the sample, okay, will I do only manual check or will I do analytic procedure also, and I'll talk about the analytic procedure on procurement in a few minutes. But once all of those is done, then who is the person who's got knowledge about the procurement process and who will go and do the audit from my side? When will the audit start? When will the audit end? Which are the functions where I'm going to go and meet? Am I going to do audit only of like purchase of raw material, or is it purchase of services also? Is it security also? Is it housekeeping also? Is it this? And how will I select my sample? That is the whole planning. Then internal evidence I talked about. कोई भी चीज, wherever you write something in your report, then that will have to be evidenced. Okay. You say that the company made excess purchase. So then, which means you should have the stock ka aging, and aging should be able to tell you like there was a stock of 100 kg available. The company wanted only 80 kgs, but they still ordered another 100 kg. And that 100 kg is lying in stock for the last 6 months, and they could have stayed without doing that because there was no production plan, there was no sales plan, and still they went and purchased. So whatever it is, that will have to be kept by way of evidence if you write something into your report. Internal documentation, like I said, anything policy, procedure, sign contract, agreement, sample that you select, working paper that you make, how did you select your sample, everything is documentation. You'll have to document everything, why you selected, what you saw, what was the contract, what was the agreement, what did you see, that whole checklist of procurement, PR to PO to GR and to quality check, that will have to be done. And that process documentation will also have to be kept by way of your file. रिव्यू एंड सुपरविजन ऑफ ऑडिट, वेरी क्लियर. कितनी बार ऐसा होता है कि कोई क्लाइंट बोलेगा अरे व्हेन आर यू स्टार्टिंग द ऑडिट, तो 2 आर्टिकल क्लार्क को भेज दिया, वो 10 दिन से उधर बैठा है, किसी को कुछ मालूम नहीं वो क्या कर रहा है. सॉरी, you need to train your people, tell them what is required to be done, what needs to be obtained, what sample to be selected. There has to be a team lead who keeps on talking to them on a daily basis. Then only the coverage will be proper, the depth will be there. So is there someone to review the work of the people who are doing? Then as a partner, have you reviewed the report? Have you reviewed the working paper? Have you looked at the observation? Then one partner ka files, another partner will have to see. All of these is review and supervision of the audit work, which is what the standard talks about. Communication with management. Draft report is a communication. Final report is a communication. Opening meeting memo is a communication. Okay. Telling that I'll start the work on so and so is a communication. Requirement. You okay, मेरे को ये चीज चाहिए. I want PO, PR, this. I want sample for so and so. I want purchase register for so much. That everything is communication. So there is various form of communication, which is what the standard 360 talks about. 370, that is the reporting result. Friends, these days, people have stopped giving a Word report or Excel report. People give a PowerPoint report. In a report, the first thing will be, okay, what is the area? When are you issuing the report? The month or date? Then the second thing is the list of participants. ये report किसको किसको जा रहा है, जिसको जरूरत है उसी को जा रहा है, CFO को जा रहा है, CEO को जा रहा है, किसको जा रहा है. Then there should be an executive summary. Then you go inside and you say, okay, what was the objective of doing this audit? What was the scope, period, coverage, etc.? Who are your team member? What is the IT system that the company is deploying? What was the number of purchase orders? How many purchase orders? What is the value? What is the this thing? How many vendors? Whatever information you can give, so that the user of the report can put a perspective. आपने बोला है कि like purchase from A vendor was 10 crore rupees, and the total purchase of that raw material was 12 crores in a year, and the purchase from A was 10 crores, which is 90%, and that was at a price higher than the market rate. Now the user does not know that the company has purchased 20 crores, 200 crores or 2000 crores. तो ये 10 करोड़ का क्या वैल्यू है मालूम नहीं है. ठीक है. So giving that information will put it into the perspective. Now, every observation when you give, So in the observation there should be what should be. मतलब पॉलिसी प्रोसीजर में ये लिखा है कि बॉस ये प्राइस कंपेयर करके या इतने रुपए के ऊपर परचेस होएगा या टीडीएस हर एक का डिडक्ट होना चाहिए. What should be? TDS should be paid by 7th of the month. What happened? In so and so cases, TDS was not paid by 7th, it was delayed by 10. So what? उसका रिस्क क्या है? इतना रुपए का पेनाल्टी लगेगा या इतना एक्सपेंस डिसअलाउ होएगा? So what should be, what has happened, what is, and so what? That is required to be replied. Okay. Then नाउ व्हाट इज योर रिकमेंडेशन. तो मैं ये बोल रहा हूं कि हर महीना ये टाइम पे चेक होना चाहिए, गलती नहीं होनी चाहिए, एंड दिस शुड बी मेकर एंड चेकर. देन गेट द मैनेजमेंट रिस्पॉन्स एंड फ्रॉम द मैनेजमेंट ऑल्सो गेट के लाइक हु विल डू दैट करेक्शन एंड बाय व्हाट डेट. That everything should come into one template. Okay. So that is what is on the reporting result. Now आफ्टर अ ईयर यू इशूड 4 रिपोर्ट. हर रिपोर्ट के अंदर 15-20 ऑब्जर्वेशन आपने दिया है. वो ऑब्जर्वेशंस में डेट है कि ये तारीख को ये बंदा करेगा, तो उसका एक ट्रैकर मेंटेन होना चाहिए और वो टाइम पे काम हो रहा है कि नहीं, और एवरी बोर्ड मीटिंग में आपको प्रेजेंट करना चाहिए कि हाउ मे व्हाट वाज द प्लान, ऑडिट प्लान, हाउ मेनी ऑडिट्स हैव बीन इशूड ड्यूरिंग द कोर्स ऑफ द ईयर, how many reports have been done, how many observations have been issued, whether those observations are high or medium or low, by what date they had to be done, whether by those date they have been done or not. If there is a delay, 30 जून को करने वाला था, अभी बोलता नहीं 30 सितंबर करेगा, that you are not empowered. You need to go to the audit committee and get their approval. Okay, now there is a delay in implementing. In the audit report, sir, while giving an engagement letter, they says कि लाइक हमारे 4 प्लांट है लेकिन 2 प्लांट आपको कवर नहीं करना है. दैट इज स्कोप लिमिटेशन. ओके. और स्कोप एक्सक्लूजन. तो इन योर एंगेजमेंट लेटर यू शुड वेरी क्लियरली राइट कि ये 2 ही प्लांट मैं करने वाला हूं, ये 2 प्लांट नहीं करने वाला. स्कोप एक्सक्लूजन. नाउ वाइल यू आर गोइंग एंड डूइंग द वर्क, और एचआर का ऑडिट आप कर रहे थे, तो दे सेड कि नहीं सीईओ का फाइल नहीं देंगे, सीएफओ का फाइल नहीं देंगे, कॉन्फिडेंशियल है. Okay, don't give me the file. I will come and sit in your department, show the file to me. I'll not even take a photocopy. No, no, it cannot be given. Okay, then write very clearly that there is a scope restriction. I selected the sample. They did not allow me to look at those files of so and so, so and so, so and so. Scope restriction or scope limitation. I may say कि every ATM में कैमरा लगाओ ताकि वो चोरी बंद हो जाएगा. वो बोलता है उतना पैसा मेरे पास नहीं है, मैं नहीं लगाएगा. मैं बोलूंगा कि हर एटीएम में सिक्योरिटी गार्ड को खड़ा करो, वो बोला नहीं करेगा. चोरी होता है तो होने दो, थोड़ा सा चोरी होता है चलेगा, लेकिन इतना हम लोग खर्चा नहीं कर सकते हैं. तो देन विल यू रिमूव दैट ऑब्जर्वेशन? द आंसर इज नो. इन योर रिपोर्ट देयर विल बी अ सेपरेट सेक्शन वेयर यू विल से मैनेजमेंट एक्सेप्टिंग रिस्क. यू विल स्टिल गिव द ऑब्जर्वेशन. क्या ऑब्जर्वेशन है कि एटीएम में कैश फनल में से पैसे का चोरी हो रहा है, इतना पैसा नोट किया है एवरी मंथ, ये 4-5 केसेस होता है, इंडिया में 500 एटीएम है. And what is your recommendation? Ki either put a security guard or put a camera, or otherwise make the ATM, the funnel in such a way that no one should be able to put their finger and do it. But they are saying to change their hardware, it will be costing a lot of them. And hence the management said they will not change the hardware, they will not put a security guard, they will not put a camera. No problem. Right there. But bring it into your report. So scope एक्सक्लूजन क्या है कि ये फैक्ट्री या ये डेपो नहीं करना है, एंगेजमेंट लेटर में लिख देने का है. स्कोप रिस्ट्रिक्शन या लिमिटेशन क्या है कि ये फाइल नहीं दूंगा, ये इंफॉर्मेशन नहीं दूंगा. और मैनेजमेंट एक्सेप्टिंग रिस्क क्या है कि जिधर हमने ऑब्जर्वेशन दिया लेकिन मैनेजमेंट बोलता है कि हम लोग कुछ नहीं करने वाला इसके बारे में. तो देर इज नो पर्सन एंड देर इज नो डेट एंड देर इज नो कमेंट, विल नॉट डू एनीथिंग. ओके, नो प्रॉब्लम. और अदरवाइज दे विल गिव देयर कमेंट्स. While doing the report, also see one thing कि ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि I say that independent third party confirmations are not obtained and someone comes and says no sorry हमने तो लिया है, ये देखो इधर है. So you write an observation not obtained and they say कि we've done it. So there should not be conflict between your observation and the management comment and your recommendation and management comment. So you should talk to the management at the time of draft report, confirm everything and then only go and do it. Otherwise there is no point in doing it. So with that, let me go ahead to 2 more standards and then I'll stop. Okay. See, this is a standard where it talks about information technology environment, and here in the procurement only, let me bring a different angle, guys. Friends, in my organization, we have spent a lot of time on technology and we have invested a lot of money. One is we've written internal queries. अगर मैं procure to pay का audit करता हूं तो I got 60 queries which I run. And these queries can be in either Excel, they can be in Power Queries, Power BI you can use, and you can even use a R or SQL to write the queries. There is a ready off the shelf tool also like an IDEA or SCL which you can buy. CA Institute is tied up with IDEA का जो parent है Casper है at Canada. And with your firm registration number, you pay 60,000 rupees and you get the IDEA tool installed in your computer. And every year renewal fees is 20,000. And IDEA comes with a lot of ready queries and it comes with videos which you can see and run the query of your client data. Now here, what is the query that I have written in my organization? I take all PR and all PO and C के like in every case purchase requisition पहला है ना उसके बाद ही order है ना order पहला है उसके बाद ही GRN है ना GRN quantity does not exceed the PO quantity. Now you will say all of these should be configured in the SAP. Why are you doing this? Okay, sorry, will not do that. Now I go to Pratik Kaneria and say Pratik that Pratik is a CFO in a company. His authority metrics limit is 50 lakhs. I go with an internal proposal of 55 lakhs. Pratik says कि 55 lakhs है तो Murtuza, this will go to my boss, audit committee or to CEO. So what I'm doing, and he will bring his own man. तो मैं एक काम करता हूँ कि आपको आज एक 45 लाख का PO देता हूँ और फिर 10 दिन बाद 10 लाख का PO दूंगा. Split PO. So here what we do is from the same user to the same vendor, we take all the POs, map it with the authority metrics table, 20% वेरिएशन, 50 लाख का लिमिट है तो 40 से 60 लाख के बीच का जितना PO उसका लिस्ट आ जाएगा वो लेके ऑडिट चालू करने का. If a particular raw material total purchase was 60 lakh rupees in a year, then which vendors and how much that will come out. In inventory, the material issued after office hours, then it will come out. टैक्स ऑडिट में आपको देना पड़ता है हॉलीडेज या छुट्टी के दिन पेमेंट किया गया सैटरडे संडे 15 होगा 26 जनवरी इट विल इमीडिएटली गिव यू अ लिस्ट. So multiple of these queries are written by us. Now this is internal data. Second is external data. There are so many APIs. Will your client want that their employees run a parallel business? Answer is no. So what I do is I take all the PAN number of all the employees, map it with the GSTN database and tell them कि आपके ये इतने employee के पास GSTN number है, ये उसका nature of business है, ये उसका turnover है. I take that GST number and map it with the vendor master and tell them कि तुम्हारे एम्प्लॉय एक अलग से कंपनी चला रहा है उसके पास तुम इतने करोड़ का इतने लाख रुपए का बाई कर रहे हो और फिर क्या रेट में बाई कर रहे हो उससे मार्केट रेट कंपेयर करेंगे तो मालूम पड़ेगा ये ज़्यादा है या कम है. सिमिलरली एम्प्लॉय के मेडिकल इंश्योरेंस के लिए उनके फैमिली मेंबर्स का डिटेल रहता है. फैमिली मेंबर का पैन नंबर लेके जीएसटी में मैप करो, पैन नंबर लेके डिन डेटाबेस से मैप करो और मालूम पड़ता है कि एम्प्लॉय किधर डायरेक्टर है क्या कोई कंपनी में. डिन मिल जाएगा तो कंपनी सीन मिलता है, कंपनी सीन मिलेगा तो कंपनी में दूसरा डायरेक्टर कौन है उसका डिन मिलता है. ये सब काम हो सकता है. इन वन क्लाइंट देयर वर ट्रांसपोर्ट बिल्स व्हिच आर कमिंग. हमने सब व्हीकल नंबर लेके परिवहन पोर्टल के साथ में कंपेयर किया. मालूम पड़ा 4 टन के ट्रक के लिए 1 लाख रुपया कोर्ट बिल कर रहा था लेकिन एक्चुअली वो ट्रक 4 टन का नहीं था, 1 टन का था जिसका पैसा 25,000 लगाना चाहिए था. In 18 lakh rupees monthly bill, 4 lakh rupees were identified which was excess billing or wrong billing by the transporter. Are you with me? So there is a lot of API data which is available. Similarly, image analytics. इनवॉइस आता है, इनवॉइस के अंदर नंबर चेंज कर दिया, डेट चेंज कर दिया, सेम क्वांटिटी है, सब कुछ है. ट्रैवल बिल, आपका एम्प्लॉय जाता है एक दिन होटल में रहता है, एक बिल लेके आता है डाल देता है, दूसरी बार होटल में नहीं रहता किसी रिलेटिव के घर पे रहता है और उसका डेट और टाइम चेंज करके दे देता है. मेरे पास एक इमेज एनालिटिक्स टूल है वेयर द डॉक्यूमेंट विल बी मैच विथ ऑल द अदर डॉक्यूमेंट इन डेटाबेस and which fields are changed or edited, when were they edited, which tool will they use, which date they went and edited. We use pixel technology. So a lot of these investments in analytics, API analytics, image analytics, video analytics, we have done. You will have to do it. But by doing this investment, what will happen is you will be able to identify a lot of cost savings for the client. A lot of frauds will be unearthed and your client will be very happy. You will be adding value to your client. खाली ग्रीन टिक मारने से कुछ नहीं होएगा. Now the client expect you to add value. With that, let me go ahead to the last one. Last one is third party service provider audit. If you are a CA firm, you can go to RBI and empanel your firm. RBI has mandated all the banks to go and do a third party vendor audit every year. And the bank paid 10 lakhs to 50, 60 lakh rupees to a CA firm for doing this third party vendor audit. आपके पास सेविंग अकाउंट या करंट अकाउंट बैंक में होएगा, आपकी चेकबुक बैंक खुद प्रिंट नहीं करता है, कोई वेंडर करता है. योर क्रेडिट कार्ड और डेबिट कार्ड आर नॉट मैन्युफैक्चर्ड बाय द बैंक, सम वेंडर डज इट. If you don't pay a car loan, then someone calls up, ke like, why have you not paid? Someone comes to tow the car from your house. If you don't pay housing loan, someone comes to remake the recovery. These are all third party vendors, which means your data is being given to the third party vendor. So then the RBI says, ke go and see whether this data is safe or not. So pick up sample from various vendors, do a third party audit, and then give a report to RBI directly. Similarly, lot of services are required as per IRDA, Insurance Regulatory Development Authority, NSC, BSC, multiple places lot of empanelment happen. So there are these opportunities also. With that, let me stop and take some questions. Any questions? Anyone wants to raise hand? I'll unmute you. If you want to write in the chat box, please write and I'll try to answer those. I tried to cover various standards also and also try to bring about various opportunities that are available. Anyone who is available, Abhayji, Dipti, someone?
Yes, sir. I'm
Yes,
there.
Dipti. Yes.
So there is question from Yash. Pratik can take over the questions. Is there any specific format for reports issued by ICI?
No, so see, there is no specific format given by ICI, but generally most of the companies have a word format where they say observation. एक तो टॉपिक ऊपर जो ऑब्जर्वेशन है उसको एक हेडलाइन दे देते हैं कि एक्सेस परचेज ओके ऑफ रॉ मटेरियल या सब स्टैंडर्ड मटेरियल परचेस्ड या मटेरियल परचेज प्राइस हायर देन द मार्केट प्राइस, सो समथिंग लाइक दैट, so that you know what is the observation. Then they give the observation like the company, the total purchase of the company is 200 crores of a particular raw material, but of the 200 per crores they purchase 90% from one vendor. And when we looked at the rate, the vendor had charged 80 rupees per kg, but similar material was available from some other vendor in the market at 60 rupees per kg, and hence the company has paid extra for the purchase of raw material by so much rupees. That, and hence there is a loss to the company of so much. So that comes by way of observation. What is the recommendation that will come there? Who then they will give the management comments why that happened, and they will give the person who is responsible and the date. It will be one format. And like I said, in the format, पहले तो टॉपिक प्रोक्योर टू पे कौन से महीने में डेट में आप इश्यू कर रहे हो रिपोर्ट, उसके बाद कौन कौन है जिसको ये रिपोर्ट जा रहा है, देन देयर इज एन एग्जीक्यूटिव समरी, how many high, how many medium, how many low. Then you should also say what do you mean by high, medium and low if you are giving the rating. Then there should be like a lot of information about like total purchase कितना है, PO कितना है, system क्या है, software क्या है, and then individual observation one by one. I hope I have answered that question.
Yes, sir. So Pratik, please unmute yourself to take the further questions.
Yeah, I have posted one question. How can an internal auditor add value beyond traditional compliance check in any Indian corporate setup?
So see, that is what I said. Like multiple things, multiple examples I can give, right? Just like now, when I'm doing a purchase of or I'm doing an admin audit. Now, admin audit, what happens is, like every organization uses people from third-party vendor, contractor, housekeeping staff, hai, then your gardener, etc. The temporary staff are taken from a contractor. Now we all know that the contractor is required to pay PF and ESIC. If he does not pay, then as a principal contractor, your client is required to pay as a principal employer. The client does not pay, the contractor does not pay. Now, the control which is implemented by the client is what? Okay, whenever you get the bill for the next month, you ask for challan of the earlier month. वो कॉन्ट्रैक्टर भी स्मार्ट है, वो क्या करता है, 20 आदमी प्रतीक को लगाया, 20 आदमी मुर्तुजा के पास लगाया, 20 दीप्ति के पास लगाया, 60 आदमी का पे नहीं करता, पे 20 का करता है, तीनों को सेम चालान चिटकाता है, और हम लोग वो चालान लेके रद्दी भर के खुश है. CFO भी खुश है और ऑडिटर भी खुश है, अरे चालान है मतलब पेमेंट हो गया. That was a good control till yesterday. Today there is a better control available. Now what I do is I say कि Pratik, in your premises, who are these 20 people who are working on contract? Give me their name, give me their PAN number and give me their EPFO number. एंड ईपीएफओ के डेटाबेस में मैं जाके देखता हूँ कि 20 के अकाउंट में पीएफ ये महीने में जमा हुआ है या नहीं. Which means all 20 people in your organization, whether PF is deposited or not, that I can check now. It is available. So I will go and check that. Okay. So there are these type of value adds which you can do. Moonlighting cases you can identify. Okay. In one of my client case, I'll tell you what happened is it was a real estate construction client. Every day morning रेती आता था. रेती 3 ब्रास आता है. 10 ट्रक आया. 30 ब्रास का पूरा क्या है ढगला ऑफ सैंड. रेती का ढगला है ना, माउंटेन ऑफ सैंड, राइट. कैसे गिनेगा कि 30 ब्रास है या नहीं. वो बोलता है नहीं इसमें चोरी होता है सर, कम आता है कोई कोई इसके अंदर, या वो मतलब 10 ट्रक आता है लेकिन वो 3-3 टन ब्रास नहीं लाता है. 2.5 ब्रास लेके आता है, कभी 3.25 ब्रास लेके आता है, तो 3-4 ब्रास मेरे को रोज कम आता है 30 ब्रास में, लेकिन पैसा पूरा लेते हैं. तो वी सेड डू यू हैव व्हीकल नंबर. ही सेड नो. वी सेड यू टेल योर क्लाइंट टू राइट द व्हीकल नंबर ऑन द बिल. सब व्हीकल नंबर लेके हमने परिवहन पोर्टल में मैप किया तो मालूम पड़ा कि कोई जो व्हीकल नंबर था वो 2 व्हीलर था, एक 3 व्हीलर था, 3 ब्रास का ट्रक ही नहीं था. 6 महीने में वो वेंडर के पास से बिल रिकवरी निकला 17 लाख रुपया. आर यू विथ मी? सो दिस इज हाउ यू हैव टू ऐड वैल्यू. खाली ग्रीन टिक मारने से बिल पे अभी कुछ नहीं होएगा, वो दिन गए.
Right.
पूरा सिनेरियो सर चेंज हो गया अभी.
राइट. सिमिलरली नाउ व्हाट वी डू इज लाइक से वी टेक ऑल द GSTN नंबर. परचेज अगर है GST रजिस्टर मिलता है प्रोक्योर टू पे में, तो आई टेक ऑल ऑफ दोस and I check all the GST number on the GSTN database कि सब एक्टिव है या नहीं. अगर if there is a certain vendor whose GSTN is not active, which means he will not be able to pay the tax. If he will not pay tax, the client will not get input credit. So we tell the client कि don't pay GSTN to this because there is a temporary suspension. Are you with me?
Yes.
There was some comment on the chat box. Pratik said, how can an internal auditor add value beyond? Okay, very good.
Yeah, that has been answered.
That was yes, that was answered.
Yes.
Then I think someone said about present PPT, so Dipti has replied. Then there is Manish Jain. If only specific areas are covered in the first year and balance areas are going to be covered in the next year, in such case, whether statutory or needs to mention any comment in Caro report. See again, assuming I am the statutory auditor and Manish ji, you are the internal auditor. Okay. और यू आर द स्टैट्यूटरी ऑडिटर एंड आई एम द इंटरनल ऑडिटर. सबसे पहला बात, मैंने क्लाइंट का एक ऑडिट यूनिवर्स बनाया. ऑडिट यूनिवर्स में 60 थिंग्स वर देयर. इन दैट 60 देयर वर सम हाई, देयर वर सम मीडियम, देयर वर सम लो. सो द कारो रिक्वायर्स यू टू फर्स्ट सी के वेदर आई डिड अ रिस्क बेस्ड आईए प्लान. उसका डॉक्यूमेंटेशन है. Then I place the whole list with the audit committee. You see the minutes. The audit committee says my budget for internal audit is only 15 lakh rupees. मतलब 5 ही audit करेगा. तो they give me appointment letter for 5. Which 5 they have written in the minutes. कि you do procure to pay, order to cash, capital compliance and tax. Okay. And then they've given me an appointment letter. Your problem is solved. There was a risk-based IA plan. The plan was stable with the audit committee. The audit committee gave an appointment letter for 5 areas. Your problem is solved. Now your second problem as per Caro as a statutory auditor is, am I capable and do I have a methodology? So you need to see my methodology of the internal audit firm and you need to see whether I'm capable. And if I have a methodology, I'll do analytic procedure, I'll do select, I'll sample, I'll do a working paper. Then you see my report. My report proper coverage hai ya nahi? And then you need to see whether there is an internal quality check. कोई टीम मेंबर है कि नहीं, कोई पार्टनर है कि नहीं. उतना हो गया तो बस. You as a statutory auditor did not go into the detail कि मैंने कितना सैंपल लिया, मैंने काम बरोबर किया है कि नहीं, मेरा ऑब्जर्वेशन बरोबर है कि नहीं, मेरा रिपोर्ट कंप्लीट है कि नहीं, वो आपकी जिम्मेदारी नहीं है. दैट इज व्हाट आई अंडरस्टैंड एज पर द कारो रीडिंग टुडे. Otherwise, if you get into that, then you are doing not statutory audit, you are doing internal audit of the whole process, okay? Which is not required to be done. I hope I answered your query, Manishi. पहला सिंपल था लाइफ, वेदर इंटरनॉइड इज कमेंसुरेट विद द नेचर एंड साइज ऑफ द कंपनी। तो कितने लोग एक रिपोर्ट लेते थे और बोलते थे हाँ कमेंसुरेट। ठीक है, खत्म। कमेंसुरेट मतलब योर जजमेंट वर्सेस माइन। अभी कारों में स्पेसिफिक क्वेश्चंस आ गया तो थोड़ा ज़्यादा मेहनत करना पड़ेगा इंटरनॉइड को पेपर जमा करने में। कंपनी को भी इंश्योर करना पड़ेगा कि वो पेपर है, और स्टैट्यूटरी ऑडिटर को देखना पड़ेगा कि वो सब पेपर बरोबर है कि नहीं, एंड ही विल हैव टू सर्टिफाई हिमसेल्फ। दीप्ति, यू आर ऑन म्यूट।
Okay, yeah.
एनीथिंग एल्स?
Pratik, anything else? Or all the questions in
there
the
are no.
Q&A box are answered, sir?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Okay. Should I close the session now, or is there any questions from the participants?
So we are on time, perfectly on time, as always. Like in your term of chairmanship, we had in WIRC also.
You see, generally what happens is the speaker keeps on talking what he wants to talk, and
Yes,
then participants का वो जो doubt रहता है वो solve नहीं होता है। तो I thought कि let me keep 15-20 minutes so that
sure.
any questions they can unmute, they can ask, and I can try and answer. Okay. So that is the reason I try to finish a little early. But yes, we have time on hand. If there is anything good, otherwise you can convert it into PDF and share with them. And
Sure.
also in the PPP PDF, my mobile number, email ID is there to all the participants. Whenever you want, you can send me either a mail or send me a WhatsApp, and I'll try to get back to you as early as possible to the best of my ability.
Yes. That is the fact that you are always available
Thank you.
and you answer all the messages and the calls. That's
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
so. Pratik, you can continue.
All right.
So we would also like to have participants' feedback for all the efforts which has been done by our esteemed speaker Murtuza sir. Lots of efforts have to be put in by a speaker to organize or to conduct any session, being in practice, being the globally recognized network productivity director, managing director of India. So, sir, thank you for giving your time, and we would like to have a feedback from all our participants. Yes.
Yeah, I think thank you to Manish Jain and CM Manish Kumar Kothari ji for your feedback. Thank you. And I'm grateful to Deepti, GyaanStation, Pratik, all the association for giving me this opportunity.
Yeah. So, I request Pratik to please take ahead.
Thank you, friends, for being part of today's session. It was wonderful to have you present. We trust the webinar brought valuable insight and fresh perspectives to your professional journey. Our heartfelt thanks to CM Murtaza sir for delivering such a thought-provoking and information session. We also sincerely acknowledge the contribution of Dipti ma'am, GyaanStation, Choice, and ITB in making events like this possible. We are excited to announce a series of 6 upcoming webinars throughout June, covering a diverse range of topics including corporate insurance, IPO, automated financial reporting, non-corporate entity, wealth management, and equity investments. So stay tuned, stay engaged, and let's continue to grow together. Wishing you all the continued success and a great day ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Deepti, you are on mute again.
Sorry.
Yes.
Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you, Murtuza sir, especially. Thank you, Pratik, for wonderful conduction of today's session, and Abhay also in his absentia. And everyone,
Thank you.
We'll continue. Next session we are having on 3rd June on corporate insurance.
We are
Yes.
also timid to
Thank
give
you.
you a
Yeah,
feedback.
thank you. Here
Thank
we
you.